Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to Bhakti Sastri class. Please examine humble obeisances. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Let's begin by chanting the prayers. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitangscha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaurtushe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarurvyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Vavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We're discussing chapter 6 of Bhagavad-gita, Dhyana Yoga. So far Arjuna has heard from Krishna about the practice of yoga system, the process of yoga system, and also the perfection of yoga system. What should be the state of mind of a yogi who is perfect was explained by Lord Krishna yesterday. And what are his realizations? What is his vision? What are his actions? He sees Krishna or the Paramatma everywhere, in everyone, and sees everything in the Paramatma or connected to the Paramatma. And because he sees everyone's connection with the Supreme Lord, he behaves with people and things looking at that connection. So if he is happy, he wants to share that happiness with others. And if he sees others are suffering, he wants to relieve others from their suffering, because he can feel what others feel, and that is due to his connection with the Supreme Lord, Paramatma. Though Krishna has beautifully explained the process of Dhyana Yoga with all the steps, all the requirements, everything, but Arjuna doesn't accept his proposal. He, in fact, will reject Krishna's proposal. He'll say, it's not a practical process for a person like me, because you are telling me I should see everyone with an equal vision, which means you are asking me to see my friends and my enemies, both with an equal vision. If I begin to see Kauravas with equal vision, how will I fight? And you want me to fight with them. Equal vision means I should see my brothers and the others on the other side, same. So how is that I'm going to fight with one and protect the other one? So it's not a practical advice for me at this stage of my life when I'm supposed to fight in a battle. Not practical. So you suggest something different, which I can easily do. So here, that's from where we'll start today's discussion. The reason, the way Arjuna expresses his inability to follow Krishna's explanation of Ashtanga Yoga is, he says, you are asking me to control my mind to that extent. I cannot control my mind to that extent. That's, I'm able to see my friends and enemies with the same vision. I cannot. That's how he conveys the message to Krishna. I don't accept your proposal of being an Ashtanga yogi. Okay. We'll chant the Mangalacharana prayers for Bhagavad-gita. Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Fullarvindayata Patra Netre Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vaitraikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gita Duhe Namaha. The verses that are going to come out from Arjuna now are related to the mind. So let's look at those verses. Verse number 33 of chapter 6. Quite a famous shloka. You might have heard this many a times when the topic of mind control is taken up. The 33 is his confession, then there's about mind control. So let me share the screen. Arjuna Uvacha Yoyam yogastvaya proktaha samyena madhusudana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat stithim sthiram chanchalam hi manah krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayur eva sudushkaram. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Asanshayam Mahabaho Manodurnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha grihyate Asanyatatmana yogo Dushprapa iti me matihi Vashyatmana tu yatata Shakyo vaptum upayataha. Arjuna is saying, I cannot control. And Krishna is saying, you can, Arjuna. Verse 33. Arjuna Vacha, Yoyam yogastvaya proktaha samyena madhusudana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat sthitim sthiram. Arjuna is saying, Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. He's saying, I can do it for some period of time, but I cannot do it for long period of time. It's unendurable. I cannot continue doing it for days and days, weeks and weeks. No, because it's impractical. Purport. The system of mysticism described by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, beginning with the words Sucho Deshe and ending with Yogi Paramaha, is here being rejected by Arjuna out of a feeling of inability. It is not possible for an ordinary man to leave home and go to a secluded place in the mountains or jungles to practice yoga in this age of Kali. The present age is characterized by a bitter struggle for a life of short duration. People are not serious about self-realization, even by simple practical means. And what to speak of this difficult yoga system, which regulates the mode of living, the manner of sitting, selection of place, and detachment of the mind from material engagements. As a practical man, Arjuna thought it was impossible to follow this system of yoga, or even though he was favorably endowed in many ways. He belonged to the royal family and was highly elevated in terms of numerous qualities. He was a great warrior. He had great longevity, and above all, he was the most intimate friend of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 5,000 years ago, Arjuna had much better facilities than we do now, yet he refused to accept the system of yoga. In fact, we do not find any record in history of his practicing it any time. Therefore, this system must be considered generally impossible in this age of Kali. Of course, it may be possible for some very few rare men, but for the people in general, it is an impossible proposal. If this were so 5,000 years ago, then what of the present day? Those who are imitating this yoga system in different so-called schools and societies, although complacent, are certainly wasting their time. They are completely in ignorance of the desired goal. So we get the answer. Why Krishna is talking about Dhyana Yoga? Because he wants Arjuna to say it's impractical. So he's talking about it. In that way, he's giving an indirect message to people. If it's impractical for Arjuna, it is impractical for you also. Right? So let's now look at the next verse. Chanchalam hi manaha Krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayur eva sudushkaram. Krishna will say to Arjuna, why you think it is so difficult? So Arjuna says, because the mind has these four qualities. What are they? Chanchalam, pramati, balavat, dridam. Chanchalam means it is restless. It cannot be at one point, one topic, one subject. It cannot stay there. It will keep on moving. Pramati, if I try to control it, it is very turbulent, very strong. Balavat, it's obstinate, adamant, and dridam, very strong, very determined. Tasyaham nigraham manye. So I can, if you ask me, I can vayur eva sudushkaram. I can control wind, but controlling the mind, it seems to me, is much more difficult than controlling the wind. That's what Arjuna is saying to Krishna. The mind is restless, turbulent. Just a second, let me switch over to the other. The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. O Krishna. And to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. So Arjuna is confessing here. I cannot do it. It is nice to be honest than to show that you are not qualified or capable. Arjuna is being honest. You are asking me to do something, but I cannot. So this is a good quality, actually. If I am not ready for a certain level of commitment or a certain level of austerity, penance, mind control, sense control, then there is no harm in expressing about it, because we need to start where we are. We need to make progress from where we are. We cannot jump at a higher stage immediately. So here Arjuna is saying, not practical for me. And Krishna will encourage Arjuna, but then Krishna will not force Arjuna to practice this system of yoga. And let's look at the purport. Very interesting explanation is there. Shweta Mataji, you wanted to read? Please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, yes.
Your voice is cracking.
Now it's okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Strong mind. The mind is so strong and obstinate that it sometimes overcomes the intelligence. Although the mind is supposed to be subservient to the intelligence. For a man in the practical world who has to fight so many opposing elements, it is certainly very difficult to control the mind. Artificially, one may establish a mental equilibrium towards both friend and enemy, but ultimately no worldly man can do so. For this is more difficult than controlling the raging wind. Purport Bhagavad-gita 6.34. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Next, Surika Mataji.
Strong mind. Intelligence is supposed to direct the mind. Just a minute. Intelligence is supposed to direct the mind, but the mind is so strong and obstinate that it often overcomes even one's own intelligence. As an acute infection may surpass the efficacy of medicine, such a strong mind is supposed to be controlled by the practice of yoga, but such practice is never practical for a worldly person like Arjuna. And what can we say of modern man? The easiest way to control the mind, as suggested by Lord Chaitanya, is chanting Hare Krishna, the great mantra for deliverance in all humanity. Bhagavad-gita 6.34. Hare Krishna.
Yes, so we have discussed this before. Though the intelligence is supposed to control the mind, it doesn't control, and the mind starts controlling it. So Krishna he prescribed the process of Ashtanga Yoga, and Arjuna says no. So then Prabhupada says, yes, that's quite true. It's not practical for common man. What is more practical is chanting of Hare Krishna. By chanting this Maha Mantra, one can control the mind. Not only just control the mind, get furthermore superior benefits. This is something good about bhakti. In bhakti, by doing one activity, you get the benefit of different stages of other yoga systems. In Ashtanga Yoga, as we saw, you have to be at one stage, complete it, then go to the next stage, complete it, go to the next stage. So it has steps. You have to master each step, and then you go to the highest level of meditation. But in bhakti, it's very simple. One can, even a novice from day one, can start chanting Hare Krishna. And that same chanting of Hare Krishna will take that person to the highest realization in spiritual life. So a novice will chant Hare Krishna, and an advanced, liberated soul will also chant Hare Krishna. Not that they will be doing two different things. Same thing, but that same thing is so powerful that it can make a beginner into an advanced practitioner, and then further an advanced spiritualist, transcendentalist. So the process is made simple for people of Kali Yuga because they cannot give so much time. They don't have so much of intelligence to understand the process. Like to understand Ashtanga Yoga technically, it would need so much of study. Read so many books on yoga, Yoga Sutras by Patanjali, understand the different levels, and then, mechanically apply all those instructions in life. Very difficult. Whereas in Krishna consciousness, on day one, practically, one is told everything that one is supposed to do throughout one's whole life for becoming a devotee of Krishna. It's not that there are some hidden secrets. Only after 5 years or 10 years we'll be told those things. No. From day one, you are told everything that you're supposed to do. Because there are not so many things. It's a very simple formula, simple process. In day one, in a discussion of 1 hour or 2 hours with a devotee, you can know everything actually. What you are supposed to do, what is not to be done, what is the goal of life, everything can be understood. Then what is the solution that Lord Krishna gives for this problem, which Arjuna is expressing? The solution is, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Asangshayam Mahabaho Manodurnigraham Shalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha griyate. First he agrees, he accepts. He says, Arjuna, what you are saying is correct. It's very true. I am not disagreeing with you. I don't say that your understanding is faulty. What you are thinking is very correct. It is difficult. Asamshayena Mahabaho. But you are a strong armed person, Mahabaho. You once even gave a tough fight to Lord Shiva. So it's difficult for me to take that someone who was able to fight with Lord Shiva cannot fight with his own mind. It requires great strength to fight Lord Shiva, and then you say you cannot fight your own mind. So Arjuna then speaks to Krishna. It was easier to fight with Lord Shiva. Now I am finding it more difficult to control my own mind. But Krishna says, still you can, because you are Kunti Putra, Kaunteya, you are a great personality. Mano durni graham chalam abhyasena tu Kaunteya vairagyena chagriyate. Two key points in this shloka as a solution by Lord Krishna. Abhyasena means by practice. Arjuna, you can do by practice. You can. And vairagyena chagriyate. Vairagyena means by detachment. Two things, by practice, by detachment. You can control your mind. Practice and detachment. Practice of the process and then detachment. Detachment from what? We'll discuss on that. So we read the translation of this first. Lord Shri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind. But it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. Okay? Rasheshwari Mataji, you can read the purport, please.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
The difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind, as expressed by Arjuna, is accepted by the personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment, it is possible. What is that practice? In the present age, no one can observe the strict rules and regulations of placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing the mind on the super soul, restraining the senses and mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. By the practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in 9 types of devotional service to, Prabhuji, just scroll, to one can mind, where was I? The first and foremost of such devotional engagements is hearing about Krishna. This is a very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn Vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of mind in spirit. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more impersonal detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. This is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called Pareshanubhava, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. More one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities, Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for mad mind, and eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So here one very nice example is given by Srila Prabhupada. He says just like a person who is hungry, and is eating the food feels satisfaction with every single morsel he eats, and his hunger dies. Similarly, for someone who is practicing Krishna consciousness, with every single step in the process of Krishna consciousness, he'll feel satisfaction and he'll find his attraction for material life decreasing or dying or fading, which means he is making progress towards liberation. And how will that mind be focused on the goal? Just by hearing about Krishna, Krishna's different pastimes. In that way, the mind can be totally focused on the goal. It's much more practical to hear about Krishna, to read about Krishna, than to sit at one place and try to meditate on the form of Krishna, which you don't see, which is inside you, in your heart. So the other process is more easy. That's what he says. Pareshanubhuti and Pareshanubhav. Yes, it's Anubhuti means experience, and Pareshanubhav means it's actually Para Isha Anubhavaha, Anubhava experience. Para Isha, the Supreme Lord's experience, a higher experience, Para Isha Anubhava. Next, okay, now let's do one thing. Let's do some exercise before we go to the next slok. We'll try to now apply the instruction of Lord Krishna, the one which we discussed yesterday. Yato yato nischalati manas, right? The mind is wandering here and there because of its nature. So you try to pull it back. And the other is mind is restless, unsteady. But by practice and by detachment, you can pull it back. You can bring it back. So we can do an exercise here. Before the exercise, let me see if I want to ask you that. Yeah, I want to ask you another question, which is, when Krishna says by detachment, you control your mind by detachment, what does exactly mean? Srila Prabhupada does explain that in the purport. He does. But then if in your own words, you have to explain this, what it means that the process of mind control will be facilitated by vairagya, detachment. I want to control my mind. How will detachment help me? Harnit Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I give up my sense of enjoyment or something. That's how I give up.
Your sense of enjoyment. Okay, good. We'll try. Next, Seema Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I feel whatever we are trying to do in our daily lives can be offered, or by chanting God's name. It's like in God's this thing, Krishna's offering, so that detachment is going to be happening, and we are not going to go for the results of it.
Fine. Maheshji?
For me, vairagya is like, to be happy in any situation, come what may. My mind.
Okay. to be happy in all situations, to be satisfied, right? That's what you say. Pankaj Shobha. Your voice is not coming proper. Something wrong with your mic. Annapurna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Detachment is we the doership mentality. We don't have the doership mentality while doing any activity.
Yeah.
So that is detachment.
All right. Good. Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. I feel that our mind, which is more engaged in the material world, it should be disengaged and put into the activities of Krishna. Basically, what we call is the Navda Bhakti, the 9 activities in Krishna. And Prabhupada has very well said that it starts with hearing and then chanting. So the more you engage in hearing and chanting, Archanam and all that, so your mind will be more engaged in Krishna.
What you said is very true. But don't you think that is what goes as an explanation for abhyasa? Abhyasa means you practice doing what you're supposed to do. So hearing and chanting is what you're supposed to do. Abhyasa refers to that section. Practice what you're supposed to do. But then what does detachment refer to? Anju Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Detachment means not associating with people who are not into the Krishna consciousness, so that our mind doesn't wander. And also, detachment here means that not engaging our senses into those things which are not into the Krishna consciousness. So this is what, according to me.
Okay, fine, thank you. I'll now take other points. Now let's do an exercise from which we can learn better what detachment would mean. Okay, so let's do one simple exercise. I request all to participate. We'll just try to observe our mind for some time, and then we'll try to also control the mind using the techniques that Lord Krishna has suggested. So first thing is, we close your eyes for 45 seconds. And during that time, you have to just observe your mind in the sense, only keep a track of where all your mind goes. Don't try to do anything with your mind. Just try to keep a track of wherever it is going, and you let it go. It can be anywhere. It can be now, you might be thinking of America, you might be thinking of heaven, you might be thinking of pizza, you might be thinking of anything. You let the mind go. But you just observe the mind. Just like sometimes you observe your child playing in the garden. What is he doing? You don't stop the child. You just let him do whatever he is doing. So you close your eyes for 45 seconds and you just let the mind go here, and then you observe it. After you open your eyes, I'll ask you, where did your mind go? Okay. So you observe it and you keep a track. Keep a track. Okay, your time starts now. Time up. So now, to how many places you went, or to what all topics your mind went? I don't know if you were able to keep track of where it started and where it ended. If you are asked to count, can you count now? Or can you keep a record of it? 2 places, 4 places, 10. Okay, Dhananjay Prabhu said 5. Very good. Guru Maya Prabhu 3. 6, 2, 2, 4. Nowhere. It was just watching my smiling face. 2, 2. Okay, 2, 1. 2 places. Green paddy field, yellow mustard flowers field. Okay, nowhere, nowhere. Your mind didn't go anywhere, means where it was then. 6 to 8. Okay, nowhere. Everest. You're climbing the Everest? 1. Okay. So now, actually, the mind went to many places, many small, different, areas, but we are not able to record everything. It was jumping, actually. It was not, okay, for some of you, it might be true that it was peaceful, but in general, it jumps, right? And if you draw a map of where the mind is going, you'll see it is zigzag. It's not straight. It is zigzag, It is from here to there, from here to there. It's zigzag. So now what we'll do is that, now we'll do the other part, which is, now we chant Hare Krishna for 1 minute, slowly and softly to yourself. And now when the mind goes, and you see it is going, when the mind goes and you see the mind is going, it is going to the exam coming next week, it is going to your meetings today, your tasks to do today, the shopping you have to do today, or if your chanting is still left, you are thinking about it. Whatever, wherever the mind goes, what you try to do, yato nischalati, Krishna said to Arjuna yesterday, wherever the mind goes, you try to pull it back. And how do you pull it back? You follow this principle for pulling it back. You can read yourself. Okay, I'll also read so that those who are watching on YouTube. Now chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, close your eyes. Whenever it goes off the conscious hearing of the sound of Mahamantra, bring it back. To whichever direction though it goes, disconnect from that thought, telling the mind that that thought is either not important or urgent and can wait, right? So the mind says exam, you say it's next week, not today. So no need to go there. Likewise, you tell the mind that is not important. What I am doing now is most important. And you try to bring the mind back. And then see how actually you'll have to exert energy to do that. You have to put efforts to do that. Okay? So your time starts now. Again, 60 seconds for this activity. Okay, time up. So can someone tell me what was the difference between the first exercise and the second? Not how it should have been. You don't have to tell us how it should have been. You have to tell us how it was for you, right? Not how it should have been. Yes, Kavita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, in both the situation, my mind was on the same platform. I couldn't help it because my father is in the emergency department hospital and my mind keeps on going there. And my second thought was because of this situation, I couldn't go to a face-to-face event of my work today. And I couldn't even communicate to them because I have been very busy cooking for him to be taken for the hospital, the food. So both the situation, my mind was under the same condition and on the same platform. Instead, it is quite agitated.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Arati Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. In the first case, I was thinking about the process that we follow, called Antarmauna, where we think about thoughts which were earlier not the thought in the current moment. Observing the thoughts that were there a couple of minutes back. So that was the first time when we did that, I observed that. In the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, I had an anchor. Whenever it was going away, I was able to bring it back, and then it was a lot more peaceful, I should say.
Okay. So how did you bring it back? And where did it go? Okay, when you're chanting Hare Krishna, where did your mind go first?
It went again to the Antarmauna, the observing the thoughts. It went back to that,
Which
but
thought?
I was thinking of yoga.
Okay.
What process we practiced called Antarmauna. It was going there, but I brought it back saying that this is more important. You listen to the vibrations.
Okay, good. So you had a thought about the yoga practice, which you do, and then you brought the mind back from there to chanting, right?
Yes.
And then it went again out for second time somewhere?
It was again going back to the yoga practices because same place, same thing we've been practicing. So it was again and again, it was going back and forth to the thing. But the second time when I was chanting Hare Krishna mantra, I was able to pull it back. Saying that, okay, now focus more on the listening to the vibrations rather than other thoughts. That's not more important.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Anit Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So when I was chanting, at that time, I felt that, my mind was contained in a particular place and that it did not really have to go anywhere. Yes, it did go once to a thought, but I was able to get it back. And that thought was something very situational, which had happened that while the class was going on, my daughter was trying to call me and I had to cut her call. And my mind went over there for a moment that, okay, what is it that she needed so early in the morning that she had to call me? For her, the time zone difference. So, but I felt very grounded. I felt that there was something which was helping me to focus. Whereas in the first situation, it was like a wild, it was going all over the place, everywhere. And whereas in the second time, as if there was a leash and my mind was being held by that leash. That was my experience.
Thank you. So you were able to pull it back. Good. Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I had no thought and I was fully concentrated in Krishna. I was fully focused in Krishna for the second time. First
focus on what of Krishna?
Basically, these days, generally, I focus on his feet and I don't see his feet only, but I always see his feet along with Mata Radha's feet also. So all the time, I'm in the Vigraha, but I'm focusing on his both the feet of both the deities actually.
Okay,
so
good.
The first time I have to bring it back. It was going elsewhere, but the second time it is fully focused because I am chanting. I'm chanting a little loudly so I can hear. That's the difference.
Very good. Okay, good point. So when you chant loudly, mind goes out or away less. Rasheshwari Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Can you hear me, Prabhuji?
Yeah.
Prabhuji, in the first situation, so I mean, the mind was going here and there, wavering. I mean, not much, but still, I could not control it much. But in the second situation, because I was chanting a little loudly, and I could concentrate on that, so that I didn't find the mind going anywhere. But I also felt that because 1 minute is shorter period, if you go on a longer period, like you're chanting for say half an hour or so, that time the mind really wanders. 1 minute is too short a period, like you can control it. And I could do that. I could focus on my chanting by hearing each and every word of it.
Thank you. Good. So again, a good realization. It was shorter, that's why it was possible. So what is the technique then to control it for longer period of time? Mataji, please mute yourself. That whenever it goes off, then you bring it back. That's the same principle to be applied. Now you are able to do it for 1 minute. You'll be also able to do it for 2 minutes and 4 minutes as well. Just you have to pull it back. What happens is that once it goes off, then it goes on a very long trip before we realize. And that's how most of the time is spent, Once it goes off, then it goes on a long trip. And after spending the summer vacation full, then it comes back, which means you then look at the watch. Oh, it's been 15 minutes and I was chanting, but I was not chanting. My mind was somewhere else. So the trick here is you bring it back. You pull it back. And sometimes this is not going to be the same experience every day, every time. Sometimes, some days our mind is naturally very peaceful. So it's easier. It doesn't go here and there. But in some moments or some days, it's very, very agitated. Then it will go again here and there, right? So on those days and those moments, the practice of bringing it back will be really difficult. All right. And some days it will be like a piece of cake, very easy, because the mind is itself supporting you. Some days it is not supporting you, it's going against you. So in those days, it will be much more difficult. Yes, 2 or 3 more we'll take, and then we'll go to the next topic. Guru Maham Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The difference in the first one and the second one was that in the first one, there was spontaneous. That means it didn't have any goal. And so the mind was going freely. But in the second one, it had a goal in my mind that I had to chant. So whenever there was some diversion, I pulled it back. And the first one and the second one, I had only one thought in mind, that was a disturbance because it is raining outside, the sound. In the first one also, and so in the second time, I chanted it loudly more so that I can negate the sound by hearing the name of the holy name in my ears. The first one was like the same sound, the raindrops, and I was thinking when Prabhuji would tell the 45 seconds is over, and keep thinking the Vairagya, because you mentioned that word before the closing the eyes. So those 3 were the ones that I had before.
Sanjay Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, in both cases, I have done the same, because this one verse you have said about 6:26. This is a very important verse. So when I did the Gita diploma course, then I thought myself that this one verse will help me in remembering Krishna. So this one verse I memorized, and whenever I start chanting, then I remember this one verse. So in the first time also I was chanting, because this one verse always helped me, and so in the second case also I have done, and it helps me to remember about Krishna, and so there is no difference.
Thank you. Next, last, Kalpana Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Am I audible, Prabhuji?
Yes, you are.
Yes. In both the cases, I went to different places, mostly for 5 to 6 places, same places, the daily task that I have to do today. But the difference that I found in the second time was, like, I felt like it is in my control a bit, like it is held with a rope, and I was talking to the mind also, come back. It's not the time to think that now. That idea has really helped me, and I was more focused, little bit more focused than the previous one.
Thank you so much. So the idea helped you, and that's why it's there in Bhagavad-gita. Krishna is telling it. You bring it back. What you are trying to do is more important than what you are thinking of doing next. So you bring it back. So this is something which we do as a practice, and then gradually this will become a part of our life, that whatever we are doing, we'll be doing it with so much focus. If you are reading, focus. Hearing, focus. Worshipping the deity, focus. Talking to someone, focus. Eating your prasadam, honoring your prasadam, focus. Right? Chanting, focus. So you do that activity fully, 100%. And you don't let the mind go here and there. Okay, next verse. Next verse is 36. I'll take the questions later. So let's go to 36. Krishna is telling Arjuna, Asanyatatmana yogo dushprapa iti me matihi vaishya manatu yatata 𝗪𝗵𝗹𝗹 upayatah. For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. Purport. Okay. Shweta Pujani Mataji, you already read. Someone else would like to read? Tina Mati.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead declares that one who does not accept the proper treatment to detach the mind from material engagement can hardly achieve success in self-realization. Trying to practice yoga while engaging the mind in material enjoyment is like trying to ignite a fire while pouring water on it. Yoga practice without mental control is a waste of time. Such a show of yoga may be materially lucrative, but it is useless as far as spiritual realization is concerned. Therefore, one must control the mind by engaging it constantly in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Unless one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, he cannot steadily control the mind. A Krishna conscious person easily achieves the result of yoga practice without separate endeavor, but a yoga practitioner cannot achieve success without becoming Krishna conscious. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat.
Thank you. So we will now take a break. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Am I audible, Prabhuji?
Now we heard you.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Okay, so we will take a break now and come back after the break. Take a break for 5 minutes. Welcome back. So now Arjuna again asks a question to Krishna that, okay, I understand one can try to control the mind. However, not everyone is going to be successful. So Arjuna is concerned that if I take to a spiritual path, a spiritual practice, and if I don't get success on that, what will happen to me? This is something which many people come across, a fear of losing everything and not gaining anything, right? Especially for those who have had significant achievements in material life. They hold to this fear of losing that when taking up to spiritual life. And if you tell them you have to give up, my God, that increases the fear so much more. So, and it's quite natural because you worked hard to get something, and then now you're told to leave that thing for something else. So there's definitely a sense of fear that what if I don't get the promised thing and I lose this, I don't get that, I'll be nowhere. I'll be nowhere. So Arjuna is saying what you are recommending is not an easy path, and that's why it's not necessary that everyone will succeed. So what will happen to those who will not succeed? Arjuna uvacha ayatihi shraddhayo peto yoga chalitamanasaha aprapya yoga samsiddhim kam gatim Krishna gacchati. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism? So a person who is not able to complete the process becomes unsuccessful. That's his question. He is also thinking about success. He's saying samsiddhim, complete success. So it said in English, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail, right? So everyone must plan for getting to the goal, and one must think about the result. One must plan for the result, right? One must do that. It's not outside Krishna consciousness or outside the process of yoga to plan, and then make the steps to achieve that plan. When scriptures say don't be attached to results, it doesn't say don't plan for the results. It says you plan for the results, you work to get the results, but when you don't get the results, don't become morose. That's called being detached from the results. Not that we don't plan. Now, because I'm not supposed to be thinking about result, I don't plan. No, that's not what the scriptures say. Here Arjuna is asking, what if I don't get success? Which means he's thinking, right? He's planning, he's thinking, what if I'll not be successful? And Krishna has already told him, don't think about loss and victory, success and failure, right? But Arjuna is thinking of success. So it means he's thinking of how to get there, but he's not going to get depressed if he doesn't get there. He'll continue to do his duty. That's what it means to be detached from the result. And Srila Prabhupada used to give us a very simple example to explain. You go out on a preaching program, you are expecting 100 people to come, but only 10 show up. So being detached from the results means next time when you get another preaching program, you don't cancel it thinking this time also only 10 are going to come. You continue to go. Whether 10 come, 2 come, no one comes, 100 comes, 1,000 come. You continue to go. So that's what being detached from the result, more attached to the duty of doing the thing. So here now you have an exercise to do. There are two major obstacles in mind control. Though there can be so many obstacles, we can give so many names to them when you're looking at the details, but you can put all those obstacles in two categories, two major categories. What are those two categories on the process of controlling the mind in the process? The answer is based on what we have covered so far, Krishna's guidance on this path. There are two major obstacles. Harinit Mataji.
Fear of failure.
Okay. Arati Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. What is the thinking of the past? There is thought about the future.
So where you're saying you're going either to the past or the future,
yes.
That's an obstacle on mind control.
Yes.
So, okay, fine. You know the process of mind control and you are trying to do it also, but then not able to do it. Obstacles, yes. Two major kinds of obstacles. Seema Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I feel attachment is one, because we are so attached to so many things. The mind is always there itself. So
attachment to what? To things which we are,
material things.
Material things. Okay. What about the second?
Fear.
Okay. Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I feel it is uncertainty of the result and fear of failure. That's the doubt.
Fine. Okay. So the two major obstacles are given by Arjuna itself himself in this shloka. Two major obstacles. What does he say? Ayatihi shraddhaya peto yoga chalita manasah aprapya yoga samsiddhim kam gatim krishna gacchati. Two words I have put in red. Ayatihi chalita manasah. So two major obstacles to mind control are, first, chalita manasa, like Seema Mataji said. We are too attached to sense objects. And our mind goes again and again to those objects. Chalita manasa, the mind goes there, which means vairagya is not there, detachment is not there. Krishna said, right, one needs vairagya to control mind. That's not sufficiently there. We are too attached to sense objects. So that's one major obstacle. The other major obstacle is, like you said, fear of failure or insecurity. What will that lead to? I have fear about something, I doubt something. What will it lead to? Ayatihi. I'll not put the required amount of efforts, less efforts, half-hearted efforts, not wholeheartedly doing it. Which means, Krishna said, not enough. Krishna said the required thing is practice, but we don't do enough practice. So two obstacles. One is our attachment to the things that we possess. Second, our laziness. Are not putting our 100% in the process of controlling the mind. Not giving our 100% to it. Why not giving 100%? Maybe I'm not yet serious about the goal. Maybe I don't think it's a priority. Maybe I have this fear of not becoming successful, so I'm not giving it 100%. I'm not trying it all. I'm doing it half-heartedly, you know. So because of that, my efforts are not sufficient, not 100%. I don't try it that much. So Arjuna said, because of these two things, a person may slip back. Not sufficient amount of efforts and distraction. Isn't it? Now, are these two not the major obstacles in anything you want to achieve in life? Distraction from the goal, anything you want to achieve, and less amount of efforts. Correct? Like if someone has to score good marks in the school or university, what will be the result? What will be the reason for not scoring? Distracted by other things. Isn't it? Going to movie, playing games, gossiping, wasting time with the friends. Right? Correct? And second thing, one has to study for a couple number of hours every day and not putting that much amount of effort. Right? So two things, they become major obstacles. And because of that, Arjuna says, one may not succeed. One may not. So I always, that's why tell devotees, we must have sufficient time given to Krishna consciousness every day. Right? It must be there. I mean, if you are a newcomer, that's okay. You are experimenting with the process. But if you have thought about reaching the goal that this process promises, then you must commit to the process. And being committed to the process means you take out the required time for it. If you don't give that much time to Krishna consciousness, will not get success. It is required. It is a must. We must give that much time to Krishna consciousness, right? And if we cut short that time period, we should know will not get successful. It won't happen. It requires time. It needs that much to be given. And that's why you might have heard it so often. There are no shortcuts in Krishna consciousness, because Krishna consciousness is itself a shortcut. So there are no more shortcuts inside it. It itself is a shortcut. So how much time is needed? We have to give. That has to be there. That is the reason we give you a sadhana card or a sadhana sheet, that you keep a record of how much time you're giving to Krishna on daily basis. How much time? And am I doing it every day regularly? Or is it on my mood and I keep on having a swinging mood? Someday I'm so Krishna conscious and someday I'm not at all Krishna conscious. I don't give time to Krishna at all. So the two things, sufficient amount of efforts and not being distracted from the goal. Arjuna says one may get distracted and one may fail. What will happen to that person? So let's read the purport here. Someone who has not read. Okay, Suresh.
The path of self-realization or mysticism is described in the Bhagavad-gita. The basic principle of self-realization is knowledge that the living entity is not this material body, but that he is different from it and that his happiness is in eternal life, bliss and knowledge. There are transcendental beyond both body and mind. Self-realization is taught by the path of knowledge, by the practice of eightfold system, or by Bhakti Yoga. In each of these processes, one has to realize the constitutional position of the living entity, his relationship with God, and the activities whereby he can re-establish the lost link and achieve the highest perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness. Following any of the above mentioned three methods, one is sure to reach the supreme goal sooner or later. This was asserted by the Lord in the second chapter. Even a little endeavor on the transcendental path offers a great hope for deliverance. Out of these three methods,
Yeah, out of these three methods, the
path of Bhakti Yoga is especially suitable for this stage because it is the most direct method of God realization. To be doubly assured, Arjuna is asking Lord Krishna to confirm his former statement. One may sincerely accept the path of self-realization, but the process of cultivation of knowledge and practice of the eightfold yoga system are generally very difficult for this age. Therefore, despite constant endeavor, one may fail for many reasons. First of all, one may not be sufficiently serious about following the process. To pursue the transcendental path is more or less to declare war on the illusionary energy. Consequently, whenever a person tries to escape the clutches of illusionary energy, she tries to defeat the practitioner by various allurements. A conditioned soul is already allured by the modes of material energy, and there is every chance of being allured again, even while performing transcendental disciplines. This is called yogic chalita manasaha, deviation from the transcendental path. Arjuna is inquisitive to know the results of deviation from the path of self-realization.
Thank you. Please mute yourself. Okay, so two things, right? Little effort and distracted mind. These are the two major obstacles on the path of mind control, success. So we have to always work on these two directions. I mean, life will bring us to situations where we start giving less time to Krishna. It will happen. It will definitely happen. And at that time, we have to keep a check on our timetable, how we spend the day, and bring it back to the required time I must give to Krishna. We have to do that. In a book, it is said every 27 days, or I think every 26 days, you must look at your system if you don't want it to become stale. Means you make a system, you make a plan, you have a vision to achieve, and you make a plan. So it says every 26 days, you have to keep on cross-checking whether I am still reaching the goal. No, then you may have to change your plan, keeping the vision intact. What difficulties I am going through, what challenges I am facing, and how can I be on the track? Because it's very easy to get off the track. So one has to stay focused and put sufficient amount of efforts that's needed. Now we'll do a very interesting exercise. Has it ever happened with you? Please be honest. Has it ever happened with you that when you tried to increase your commitment to Krishna consciousness, you felt greater material temptations or obstacles? Or you felt some energy holding you back or trying to defeat you in your resolve? Like you decide from tomorrow, this is something extra I want to do for Krishna. Maybe extra chanting, extra reading, extra austerity, getting up early in the morning, some more sacrifice, some more responsibility for Krishna. And when you do that, you find something is trying to push you back, or something is trying to resist you from moving ahead in that direction. It may not be something always external, it may be an internal thing, something from inside stopping me, or restraining me, or not allowing me to give myself 100%. It may be some kind of fear, some past bad experience, something that holds us back. So how many of you experience this thing? Yes, if yes, you can raise your hand. If no one, okay, you all experience this. So why does that happen? Why we go through such experience? Would anyone like to share such experience without going into the details of what happened, but what you were trying to do, and then what were the difficulties that suddenly came across your path, which were not there, and suddenly it came. It was not there, but just as you made the decision, I want to do something extra for Krishna, then those obstacles landed on the path. Someone would like to share. If it's not that personal, you can easily share. And you can share of those who raised the hand. Who would like to share? You can unmute yourself, whoever would like to share.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu. Yeah, Prabhu, there are many examples, like whenever I think myself that I will do my bhakti and I will do more preaching in my locality, outside my locality. Then nowadays means I am feeling having one problem that is related to my health. Because now my health is giving me too much problem, and for that one thing somehow I am managing my daily for regulatory principles, chanting, reading. So this is one problem I have seen. And sometimes what happens is I am confused about my family members because they don't do that what I tell them to do. Because I am married, I have 2 children and my wife. My eldest son, he is reading in class 9, and the second one, he is reading in class 4.
To summarize, I can say that you are saying when you try to commit yourself more, you are finding that there are health issues which stop you from committing more to the process, or your family members create some trouble or don't support you in your decisions, right? So the problem is coming, but coming from a different direction, coming from one's health and also coming from families. Yeah, David Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Your Grace. My situation is I'll just be a bit snappy. It's very long because of my background. When I started to follow the Krishna consciousness, I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of family, and always I say that the pandemic was the best days in my life because I will be able to read Prabhupada's book and participate in a lot of things online. But the situation is, I live very far away from the temple, like 1 hour, 30 minutes drive. So when I came home, I'm so distracted because I don't have anybody around me, and being a single father to my son and myself, and work is so difficult, very, very difficult. And sometimes I have to hide a lot of things from family and so on. So always I'm very distracted, and this disturbs me a lot because I want to do more. So that, because it's more like I have a very big wall to fight, you know, because I have to reach a certain level to defend myself. So this is really disturbing me.
Yeah, Prabhu. Thank you so much for sharing. Krishna will give you strength to face that. So as you said, losing family members, losing friends when you come to Krishna consciousness, right? You might remember those days when you had, I mean, I'm talking about India, pizza at Domino's and coffee at CCD. Of course, CCD is closed now, but Maya has opened many other outlets. If CCD is not there, then you have Starbucks, Subway, and so many other things are there, KFC, right? So there are so many outlets through which Maya tries to call us back. Please come back to me. And we lose so many things because of coming to Krishna consciousness. It happens. It happens, yes. Okay. Anyone else? Last person to share? Yes, Anju Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, when I started with you this course, then was with a very enthusiasm. Okay, this time I'll be doing it. And then all of a sudden, like last 1.5 months or almost 45, more than 45 days, it has been very difficult for me to keep up the pace with the things because of the situations that have arisen. And all of a sudden, my father becoming so sick, and then he left his body and all these things, and my mother is alone. So all these situations. So I was just thinking, like, when I was free, then that time I didn't ever think that I should be investing so much of time. And now when I'm trying to invest the time, and so the time is not permitting me. So all the responsibilities have all of a sudden come more. So this is what I have noticed. And this is what I would like to share.
Okay, thank you for sharing. All right, so we heard some experiences. Others also, thank you so much for showing up the courage, but we don't have time to let you speak on that. However, another thing to ask all of you, so you went through those experiences. What general principle can we draw from such experience? Like, we might have different experiences, but what general principle can we draw from such experience? When we try to give more, but then there is something which stops us. Kavita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I think it's a test taken by Krishna of all of us, you know, when we try to do it.
It's a test. Fine. Usha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I think determination helps you a lot. If you're determined, even there are a lot of difficult situations within the family, outside, but if you're determined yourself that you want to achieve and you want to do it, that helps a lot, Prabhuji.
All right. Okay. Determination. And last thing, Sonali Mataji.
I think, I mean, Krishna says always, and this is the right time to increase our dependency on Krishna, being prayerful to Krishna.
Okay, that's the principle. Good. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada, he answered that question in the purport. Why such things happen? He answered it. What does he say? He says, we'll read it again if you missed in the first reading. He says, to pursue the transcendental path is more or less to declare war on the illusory energy. Consequently, whenever a person tries to escape the clutches of the illusory energy, she tries to defeat the practitioner by various allurements. A conditioned soul is already allured by the modes of material energy, and there is every chance of being allured again, even while performing transcendental disciplines. If in a prison house there are 900 prisoners, all of them very obediently listen to the jailer. They create no nuisance in the prison, right? So the jailer will be very easy with them because they are already very obedient. But if one of those prisoners starts planning to escape from the prison house, then the jailer's all attention will be on that one person, leaving the others without trying to disturb them anyway. So as soon as one comes to Krishna consciousness, Maya gets tougher with us, much more tougher than how she is with people in general. Why? Because they're already in her captive and they don't want to get out. But one who tries to get out, she gets really, really crazy with them, you know. How can you, who have been my servants for millions and millions of lifetime, now want to become free? Why? Come back to me. So she wants to pull you back, hold you back. And how she will try to hold us back will be different ways. Sometimes, your health is bad since the day you came to Krishna consciousness. So this process has given you a sick body. Come back to me, I'll make you healthy again. The day you joined this movement, you left so much, family, society, friends. They all want you back so badly. And you are not happy because you don't have good friends anymore. So you come back, I'll give you good friends again. You are doing so well before in your business. Now the day you became Krishna conscious, Krishna has made you poor. But money is so important, isn't it? So I give you money, you come back. She will give all these reasons, you know. And how she will speak to us? Whom will she use to speak to us? Our own uncontrolled mind, distracted mind. She'll make that as the medium to convey all these messages to us. So uncontrolled mind becomes the delivery boy for Maya Devi. And it delivers all the messages, all the proposals, all the allurements. And a devotee has to be, that's a very alert, that problems are coming, which means someone is trying to take me away from Krishna. But I don't want to give up. I don't want to give up. I want to face it. I want to overcome it. Right? That will keep us stay fixed on the path and also help us to move forward on the path. Further, Prabhupada writes, okay, I'm not put in the slide. So now, how do we overcome these allurements? By not becoming weak in front of them, but then accepting them as a challenge, as an opportunity. Not, sometimes people, they feel themselves to be so helpless in all situations. What can I do? It is so difficult. I am all alone and the world is so tough place. How can a single person defeat the entire society, everyone? It is so difficult, right? I am so weak and my past was so bad. Anyway, I am such a fallen soul. What can a fallen soul do other than fall down? Right? So all these things will go on in the mind, right? And if someone even tries to motivate you or inspire you, Prabhu, you can be the hero. You will say, no, whole life I have been a zero. How can I be the hero? That's where I belong. That's most comfortable for me, to be always at the back, always be the loser, right? Always think in that manner. Self-pity, something like that takes over. So for different people, it will come in different ways, actually, in different ways. Maya knows how to set the bait for us and to catch us back. So a devotee has to be, therefore, like here we are discussing why one does not become successful, because one gets distracted. Who causes the distraction? The illusory energy of Krishna. And why does she do that? Not because she doesn't want us to come out of the prison of material life. She just does that in order to increase our sincerity for the purpose, right? To make us really, really strong-willed. No, I have decided to not go back to that life. I want to go forward in Krishna consciousness. So she's testing, right? And when we start passing the test, then the same illusory energy of the Lord starts supporting us. The same energy of the Lord. will start helping us. Then the Mahamaya turns into Yogamaya. And she, instead of remaining a police inspector who puts you in the jail, becomes the police inspector who starts protecting you, safeguarding you from obstacles and challenges. So it's just for me to pass through that period of test that all these problems will come. So we will now ask you to make a list for yourself. We're not going to discuss this anymore. I've already spoken about it. So I'm showing you a question. The first question, we are done. Now the second question, you have to make a list for yourself. How Maya can allure you, not others, in your life, looking at your situations, looking at your difficulties, your challenges. How can Maya Devi allure you in your spiritual life? It's going to be different for different people. So for you, what will be the way? You can think about it. Note it down. In what all ways can Maya come to you? The easiest way to get an answer to this is just look at your life and think of those incidents when Maya did trap you. And she will use the same traps again because she knows the weak point. For different people, those weak points are different. For some people, those weak points are restaurants. For some people, those weak points are television, right? For some people, those weak points are old friends, parties, right? It is an active pull away from Krishna. Yes, it's an attempt to distract you. It is there. So that attempt is just to make the resolve of the person stronger. I mean, when we talk of Maya, we are giving her an identity. Of course, she has an identity. We are giving her an identity so that we can easily relate to the problem and work towards a solution. That Maya is not someone outside. That's my own desires, my own past, which comes in the shape of Maya or the force of Maya, right? But we give it a personality. It is a person, but we give it a personality in order to visualize and then fight, isn't it? That way, it becomes easier to practice fighting. That you have an enemy, an opponent, and you have to defeat that. Yes, it is to test our resolve and make us stronger. Social media addiction. Okay. Very true for many people. A health condition or laziness. Browsing the current affairs, health issues. Okay, Facebook shots, well-paid job, novels, WhatsApp. Family gatherings, tempting sweets, Instagram. Okay, all right. So you can still keep on adding points to the list. Life is still there to live, and so many challenges will come. So we can keep on adding to the list. What always can allure us? Yes, it's gone to take a moment, find against liquor addiction, drug addiction. Very true. You are also part of ISKCON, so you should also take efforts in that direction. All right, so let's go to the next topic. Next shloka. Arjuna says, Kachinno bhaya vibhrashtas chinnabhram iva nashyati apratishthito mahabaho vimodo brahmanaha pati. O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere? Very, very interesting analogy given by Arjuna. Like a cloud, a riven cloud. Someone would like to read this? Antaramat.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. There are two ways. There are two ways to progress. Those who are materialist have no interest in transcendence. Therefore, they are more interested in material advancement by economic development or in promotion to the higher planets by appropriate work. When one takes to the path of transcendence, one has to cease all material activities and sacrifice all forms of so-called material happiness. If the aspiring transcendentalist fails, then he apparently loses both ways. In other words, he can enjoy neither material happiness nor spiritual success. He has no position. He is like a riven cloud. A cloud in the sky sometimes deviates from a small cloud and joins a big one. But if it cannot join a big one, then it is blown away by the wind and becomes a non-entity in the vast sky. The Brahmana Patihi is the path of transcendental realization through knowing oneself to be spiritual in essence, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, who is manifested as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Lord Shri Krishna is the fullest manifestation of the Supreme Absolute Truth, and therefore, one who is surrendered to the Supreme Person is a successful transcendentalist. To reach this goal of life through Brahman and Paramatma realization takes many, many births. Bahunam Janmanam Ante. Therefore, the supermost path of transcendental realization is Bhakti Yoga or Krishna consciousness, the direct method. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay, two more verses for today. Text 39. Arjuna is now requesting Krishna. Etan me sanshayam Krishna chetumarhasya sheshataha tvad anyah sanshayasya cheta nahi upapadyate. This is my doubt, O Krishna, and ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. Only you can destroy my doubt. Next shloka. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Parthanaiveha namutra vinashastasya vidyate nahi kalyanakrit kaschit durgatim tata gacchati. So Krishna gives a very hope-giving reply to Arjuna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Son of Pritha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction, either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. I'll not take the purport. Needs little explanation. We'll do in the next class. But there is a solution here for a problem. Krishna says, one who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. The Maya's allurements you can think of that as evil forces. And if I want to keep myself protected from it, it may come in any way, like you all listed so many points. Those points are different, but all of them have the same reason. They are distractions, and they have been put in our path so that we don't make progress in Krishna consciousness. So how to overcome those distractions? Krishna says, one who does good is not overcome by evil. It's not overcome by evil. Now, how do you do the good thing? In the purport, Srila Prabhupada will explain bhakti is the best thing to do. If you do bhakti, the evil forces cannot overcome you. That's what he's going to explain. But there's another way to look at it, and which is very, very practical. What is it? When you have problems in life, those problems can easily take you down. Those problems can easily take you down if you focus on those problems more than helping others solve their problems. The more you focus on your personal problems, the more those problems will try to take you down. And if you start thinking less about your problems, but start using your spiritual gifts, your talents, your skills, what God has given you to help others solve their problems, you'll see your problems will evaporate in the air, will be gone. So Krishna said here, if you try to do good, evil cannot overcome you. If you try to do good, isn't it? So in any situation, when we are keeping ourselves in Krishna consciousness only to the extent that I want to practice Krishna consciousness and I want to be happy and benefited by it, that's all, Maya will easily take us down. But if you take to Krishna consciousness with the spirit of, I want to bring a change in myself and also the environment around me. When you are ready to, fight, ready to attack, not just defend, ready to attack, ready to punch back, then you will see it will be difficult for Maya to take us down. Much more difficult. So when you see that the burden of your personal problems are getting too heavy, start taking the little burden of others' problems. And interestingly, what will happen? The burden of your problems will become lighter. And the more you think of your problems, the burden will get heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. It will happen. It will happen. Now you may ask, doesn't sound logical. I mean, if I am already so burdened, you give 50 kilograms more on top of that, then the burden should increase. How is it going to decrease? I have 100 kilograms on my head. You put 50 more. That's going to make it 150. It's not going to reduce it, right? Isn't it? It's not going to reduce. But what happens is, when you have 100 kilograms on your head, and still you take the courage to help those others who are having some problems and try to take the extra 50 voluntarily in order to help them, serve them, being Krishna conscious, Krishna says, I'll help you carry the burden. Because you are trying to do something for me now. I'll help you, And then he starts carrying our burden. And then it becomes very easy for us. Because he'll help us. Why will he help us? Because you are helping him. So he'll help you. Right? So the easiest way to come out of problems is that don't give them so much attention. And rather think in that situation how you can give back to life, how you can give back to Krishna in that very situation. And then you see Krishna will take that so gratefully. Oh, this person is so much strong will to give back to me, to offer to me, and he'll give all the help that we need to overcome our weaknesses. Right? This is how the saintly people, they overcome their weaknesses. They don't overcome their weaknesses just by focusing on their problems. They overcome their weaknesses by taking greater challenges to help others. And when they do that, Krishna blesses them with extra power and extra strength. Because now you're becoming an instrument in the hands of Krishna. So Krishna will empower you. Krishna will give you extra strength, and extra support will be provided to you. And in that way, you'll be able to overcome your weaknesses as well as you'll be able to help others solve their problems. Right? So this is the way, if you look at the history of Vaishnavas, great Vaishnavas, despite all the problems they went through in their life, they always use those situations to extend themselves to actually be kind and compassionate upon others. They did that. And that drew Krishna's special attention, very, very special attention, that this person is so selfless, this person is so generous, this person is so helpful. Let me help this person. Let me help this person. Right? So this is the way. Let's do the good, and then the evil cannot overcome us. Okay, so any questions now? Some questions were in the beginning of the discussion. I didn't take them, so you can still speak out those questions. Those who put in the chat box, if you don't mind, can you raise your hand and ask the same questions? It'll be difficult to go through all the question list in the chat box. Guru Mai Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dhanapranam Prabhuji. Prabhuji, what about the situation where your mind is single-minded, that is very concentrated, fully concentrated in the chanting the holy names, but suddenly a loud voice and the disturbance more louder than your chanting, and you feel get distracted and deviated? And in such kind of situation, how do we overcome such situation?
Tolerate.
Okay.
I mean, these things will keep on happening in the world, right? I mean, you can't control the loudness of the sound outside your room or your house. So those things are out of your control. You tolerate.
Because when I'm chanting means it's like I'm trying to focus more on the listening part. So when I try to focus on the listening part, my ears become more sensitive even to very slight sounds. So it's a little bit of distraction.
Yeah, so that's why you tolerate, or you make such an arrangement that such sounds don't enter the room where you are staying. So you block those sounds. Some people are very sensitive, so they keep, soundproof, doors, windows, nothing from outside gets inside, or very little amount gets inside, right? So if you face such issues, look for practical solutions, really, really practical solutions. And after having tried all that, still it's your bad luck that the sound comes in. So you tolerate. Right, Prabhuji?
Okay.
Anit Mataji.
Prabhuji, it's not a question, but I've been wanting to share an experience. Like everybody was mentioning about the illusory forces, causing issues for them, obstacles. So what I want to share is what has helped me in the last 1 year. I have been on this path only for a year. I had nothing to do with Krishna. I had nothing to do with ISKCON. I had nothing to do with Simple Vedas, nothing at all. But what has helped me in the last 1 year, and maybe it was building up, I'm not aware, but overcommitment to this process is what has helped me. And it has helped me in a very big way. I mean, I've committed myself to a lot of services in the temple, a lot of services to preaching the holy name, a lot of services even in Vrindavan Dham. I had never been to Vrindavan Dham in my life. And without going to Vrindavan Dham, I committed myself to certain services over there. So what my experience that I want to share with the other devotees here is that there will be enough and more issues which will come in your path. But just go out there and overcommit yourself. The way Prabhuji said that be aggressive and take the bull by the horns, literally we need to do that. And then there is nothing which can stop. I'm not saying those illusory forces will not come in again. Of course, they will come. But, the way we've been studying, in our entire journey during the Gita diploma course or during the Bhakti Sastri course, it is all these experiences that we are gaining from each other which will give us strength. But committing yourself, and not just committing, over-committing yourself in the Krishna consciousness process in the journey is something which will take you very, 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 very far. That's I wanted to share with everybody.
So much. It is very true what you said. If we commit, we will be supported by Krishna. See, Krishna has made it very clear. The more you give to him, the more he gives back to you. Right? So if I give myself 100% to Krishna, Krishna will not leave me weak. Krishna will also give himself 100% to us. And then in any situation, the problem will never get stronger than Krishna, because you have depended on Krishna fully. You have given yourself fully to Krishna. So this will help so much, actually. And that is the reason, why Srila Prabhupada emphasized so much in our society that we should preach. Many people who belong to traditional spiritual organizations or orthodox spiritual organizations, they don't like the idea about ISKCON being so aggressive in preaching. They say, you all people are too much into preaching. You should sit at one place and do more chanting and sadhana and bhajan, and self growth should be focused more rather than preaching. But they forget the point. Srila Prabhupada has made the preaching program in such a way that when you preach and you want to effectively preach, self growth will happen automatically. Automatically it will happen, right? Because if you are not growing, how will you preach? You will not be able to, right? There will be so much of resistance. There will be so much of obstacles. And to overcome that, you have to really push hard. So why Prabhupada gave us preaching? We should know one thing. He did not give us preaching because we are the saviors. He gave us preaching just to hook our mind, that we become passionate about something, right? When you are passionate about something, when you take it something as your ambition, then you give yourself 100% of it. Then you are very strong, determined, right? So that's why he gave that.
The best part is, Prabhuji, that, while on this path, the more people you gather along with you, that gives you even more strength. I mean, when we are talking about the social circle, for example, having such a wide social circle, as you mentioned, partying and everything, right? But when you set an example, you actually, you're successful in transforming people, in transforming lives. I have seen so many people in my social circle actually intrigued that what has happened to this lady. We have to know what is this Krishna consciousness all about. They actually want to know the process. Many of them have got bead bags and beads and they want to start chanting. So when you go with that particular focus, that your problem is a very small problem and there's a bigger problem outside, and let us tackle their problem. Because sometimes people will say कि अपने खुद के घर को पहले संभालो, बाकियों का बाद में देखना. They will talk like that. But it is not the way it functions. The way it is that you've got to have a very, very wide vision. And that is what is something which will think of your problems as nothing at all. And one very important thing which is helping me even till date is the prayers to Tulsi Devi. Prayers to Vrinda Devi, Tulsi Devi is something which will just clear all the obstacles in your path.
Thank you so much for sharing all that. So good realizations. And now 3 more hands up. Questions? Yes. Sureka Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I still couldn't make the difference between akarma and nishkam karma. Can you please help me out?
Akarma and nishkam karma. Akarma has 2 meanings. We discussed this before. One meaning is that it is not doing anything. That is called akarma. And the other meaning is that you do, but that doesn't bring a reaction. It's called akarma. So when you take the second meaning of akarma, that is the same as nishkama karma. When you take the first meaning of akarma, then it has a different meaning from nishkama karma. Okay? All right. Vrindarani Mataji.
Hare Krishna. I have some doubts considering verse 40. it is said, one who does good don't become overcome by evil. One thing is that I'm not completely sure about what kind of evil it meant. The statement is meant, and the other is that previously we mentioned that tests are coming, and sometimes practitioner is not strong or determined enough to pass those tests. So it seems contradictory to the statement that who does good don't become overcome by evil.
Yes. So it doesn't mean that you did good on one day and then you stop doing good, right? It means that you're always doing that. And as long as you do that, you'll not be overcome by evil, right? So you did good in the past, very good. It helped you to not get defeated by the evil forces. Now at present, when you are being attacked stronger by the evil forces, then you have to do greater good. You have to continue doing that, right? So that's the challenge, that's the difficulty, that I need to continue sacrifice, continue fighting, and in this way, one day we'll be fully victorious over the enemies which are actually inside us only. So you let the strong forces inside you, the good forces inside you, become stronger and stronger, and the evil forces inside you become weaker and weaker. That's what it means to do the good. Like, for example, I was reading a very nice book, and it said, if Krishna wants to teach you to love, Krishna will never put you in association of people who can give you love. Krishna will put you in people's association who are not lovable. And through that, he wants you to teach to love. Right? If Krishna wants you to teach peace, he'll never put you in a peaceful situation. He'll put you in a situation where there is very less chance to be peaceful. And through that, he wants to teach you peace. So that fight will always be there. That battle will always be there. And I have to be strong to continue fighting. And where do you get all that strength from? Srila Prabhupada summarized it very easily. If every day you chant your 16 rounds nicely, and you strictly try to follow the 4 regular principles, you'll get all the strength to fight. All right? You'll get all the strength to fight. But if you become little slack on these two things, then we will start losing our enthusiasm, determination, our willpower, our strength to fight. So to remain free from that attack of evil forces, or to fight back, we need to be always good. Not that, okay, I did so much in the past, now that should help me completely now at present. No, at present also I have to continue doing the good. Then evil forces won't overcome me.
And what that evil exactly means?
Evil forces here refers to the things which will distract you from Krishna consciousness. That's what evil forces mean. Like the 6 things which we call as the inner enemies: lust, anger, greed, pride, illusion, envy, right? These are the evil forces.
Okay, thank you. I have one more question if there is time, or later.
You can ask.
Okay. You also said that when we have problems, if we support others to solve their problems, then we will. It's easier to overcome our problems, but I think that it happens in reality that then we don't have sufficient time for our own sadhana.
We will have, no? Because you see, when you want to help others, you can't help them when you can't help them when you are properly situated yourself. So you have good sadhana, and we don't compromise with our sadhana. That will be a stupid thing to do, right? But then after your sadhana is done, instead of then spending the whole day just trying to think about your own problems, and allowing the problems to bury you, actually, you start thinking of how can I help? How can I support? Now, if you look at the life of Srila Prabhupada, or you look at the life of any saint, we think that saints are superheroes. Means they don't have any problem, and that's why they can keep on giving to people, society, others. They don't have any problems in life. They are made like they are gifted, so much gifted that no challenges for them, and that's why they are able to be so nice people. But it is not so. It's not that they don't have problems. They don't have personal challenges, health issues, mind troubling them, difficulties. It's not that it's not there. It is there, but they're least bothered about it. They're least concerned about it. Least bothered. I tell you a story from Prabhupada's life. If you want, you can stay back. Otherwise, it's okay. It's time, so you can leave. Srila Prabhupada, when he took sannyas, he didn't want to take sannyas because he thought, I have a wife, I have children, and though my children are grown up, they are not responsible. They are not married. They don't even know how to earn for themselves. So I have to provide for them. But then his spiritual master was coming every day almost in his dream and telling him, you are getting so old. If you don't take sannyas now, when are you going to take? And if you don't take sannyas, you won't become free from all these responsibilities. How will you preach? I want you to preach all across the world. Time is going. Time is ticking. Someone has to do it. And you are the most perfect person to do this. So you do. So he was in a dilemma. One thing, there is a strong inner call towards the mission. But there are personal problems, personal issues, right? He was going through a very big financial crunch in life. Everything he would do would fail. He lost so much of money. Everywhere he invested money, people did not pay back. People stole away the money. Something happened, and he was losing again and again. So some of you might have heard this story. Prabhupada asked his wife, tea or me? And she said, tea. And Prabhupada said, okay, I'm going. It was not that easy. That just for that one conversation, he left his wife. Nothing like that. Sometimes we will make it more dramatic. So it was not like that. Of course, that incident did happen. That conversation did happen. But when Prabhupada was supposed to take sannyas, he called up a meeting. Meeting with whom? Meeting with his sister, Pishima, whom he loved very much and was very close to him since his childhood. They used to play together. They were very close to each other. Pishima, her name was Bhavatarani. He called her. He called his god brother, His Holiness Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, a sannyasi, a disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta. There was a disciple of his god brother, a brahmachari. His own son, the eldest son, was there, and Prabhupada himself. So there were 5 people in the room discussing how can Abhay Charan, Abhay Babu, take sannyas. When I was reading about this, I was thinking, what culture was there in those days? You want to take sannyas and you are having a discussion with your family, with your son, with your sister, and you got brothers, right? Very civilized and cultured people, right? That they're sitting to talk about something like that, planning for it. So he was confused, but he was saying, I have to, because every day I'm getting this dream and it's very strong call from my Guru Maharaj. So his sister told Prabhupada, anyway, you are a useless fellow, because you are trying to earn money and you're not able to earn money. So you're a useless fellow. Whole life you try to earn money, you could not. Now, for little life you have left, do what you always wanted to do, which is preach. You always wanted to do that. You could not do because of your commitment to family. Now you have little life left. Now you try to do what your heart wants to do. Commit yourself totally to the cause of Sri Chaitanya and you take sannyas. Sister is saying green signal. Okay. And the son is sitting close by. And the son says, yes, father. Take. It's okay. We'll manage. Okay. And that time Prabhupada then asked his sister, who will take care of my family if I take sannyas? Right. He then told her, will you take care? Do you promise? You will take care for them? She said, yes, I'll take care. You go. I have 3 sons who have a very good job. I'm a widow now. I have 3 sons who earn very nicely. Even if your family, no one earns, my family is strong enough to support you and your family. So I give you the words, in any difficult situation, I'll be standing behind your family to give the support. So you can go take sannyas. Prabhupada, when he got that assurance from his sister, he said, now I can. Because I won't have this thought disturbing me. What's going on with my family, my sons, something wrong may happen to them. He took sannyas. His eldest son, who was very dear to him, fell in wrong association. He had gotten into an affair with a low-class society girl. And he was chasing like a crazy man behind her, trying to marry her. But then she was a low-class girl, so she did not take that relationship seriously. And because of that, his eldest son became mad. Prabhupada's eldest son became crazy. And his situation was very bad. So when Prabhupada came back to India, Srila Prabhupada met that same brahmachari who was in that room when he took sannyas. He was having this discussion. He met that same brahmachari. He was a young boy when Prabhupada took sannyas. So he met him. His name was Govind. So he asked Govind, how is Vrindavan? Vrindavan was the name of Prabhupada's son. How is Vrindavan? And then Govind told, I saw him one day loitering in the street like a crazy person. I saw him loitering in the street like a crazy person. Like you have seen people in India, sometimes they are collecting garbage from the garbage can, finding out empty bottles, plastic bottles and all that. Then they will sell that to earn money. He was doing something like that. And this brahmachari felt so sad. He was thinking, look at the father. He has become an acharya in the whole world, saving the lives of thousands of people. And look at this fellow. He's the son of such a great person, but what has happened to his life? Which means everyone has his karma, free will. He misused his free will. So Prabhupada told, that brahmachari told Prabhupada about the situation of his son. Very pathetic situation, pitiable situation. And what did Srila Prabhupada do? He called his sister, Pishima. You promised me you'll take care of them. Why did you not fulfill your promise? He just said that. And after that, he never spoke about this again. Why I told you this story? He had personal problems, even after he took sannyas, right? But he didn't stop giving back to International Society for Krishna Consciousness, to people in the world, writing his Bhaktivedanta purports, traveling all across the world, sleeping only 2 hours a day. Because he was not thinking about his problem, he was thinking, how can I help others become more happy? Right? So when we do that, our problems will actually they will evaporate. It will happen. And Krishna will then take care of that. Someone may say, but isn't it wrong? He should have taken care of his son and all that. But yes, if he would have done so, all of us would not be sitting now here today. Right? We would not be sitting here today studying his books and changing our life. We won't. So we need to learn these things from their life. And then if we implement in our life, we will easily overcome illusory energy of Krishna and emerge victorious. Fine. Thank you. Okay, Tina Mataji, next time, please. If you have a short question.
No, Prabhuji, I will ask next time.
Okay, short question.
Prabhuji, my question was that how many questions are going to come in the closed exam? Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
You will not get more than 15 questions.
Okay, Prabhuji.
It will be around 10, 15, 12, something like that. Not many. Means the time that you'll get to solve the question paper will be sufficient. No need to worry. Right? You can, even if you are very slow at writing, like a snail, very slow, still you can complete the paper. Don't worry. Okay.
There will be class on Saturday, no?
The last class next Saturday. All right. Okay, thank you so much. See you next week. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.